Hey fellow pilots, welcome back. We are here in the Beechcraft Bonanza G36 in New York because I want to show you how to transition to higher performance aircraft. A couple things you got on a high performance aircraft and a complex aircraft. This one has wheels that you can retract, so you got retractable gear. That's something you got to know. This also has an adjustable pitch prop, or in this case it's a constant speed propeller. I'll teach you how to use that. Also got a couple more advanced systems like electric flaps and cowl flaps too that I'll teach you about. So let's pop inside the cockpit and we'll show you what we got going on. Alright, so here's the things that I was telling you about. This blue knob is new if you've only been flying Skyhawks and Cessna 152s. You can adjust this by pulling it back and forth like that, and when you do takeoff, or when you're doing takeoff, you want to have it full forward for the high RPM mode. What that's doing is it's letting the propeller up front take the smallest bite out of the air, and then as you start to cruise, you can make the engine more efficient, almost like shifting into a higher gear in a car, where the engine's working basically more efficiently at a given airspeed. So you'll pull that back as you start to cruise. So that's one thing you got to know. The other thing is you got to keep that engine cool while it's working hard. So you'll take off with the cowl flaps open, and then as we start to go underway, we will close those up to keep the engine from shock cooling or keeping it within the temperature range that we want. Here is your gear down handle that I was telling you about. We will use the flaps up for this departure. Parking brake is off, and then some Bonanzas want you to use the auxiliary fuel boost pump. I'll turn it on here. The idea is if the engine boost pump fails, that will be a backup. This particular model does not need it, but I'm just showing you as a little demonstration. Don't need any prop de-ice because we're taking off here. Let's take off, folks. Alright, one last thing before we roll. You see up at the top here, this is manifold pressure. This is basically a measure of how hard your engine is working. It's measuring the suction off of the manifold intake. This is your propeller RPM. You can tell how hard the engine's working by what you set this at. We'll set it to about 29 and then 25 for takeoff, and then we're going to set our RPMs to 2700 for full takeoff, and then when we start to cruise climb we'll do 2500. Show you in just a sec what I mean. Alright, taking off. Full power, prop is full forward, throttle is full forward. Here we go, add in that right foot. That's what I was telling you about earlier. There is your 2700 RPM. Oh, I'm all over the runway here, sorry. Alright, airspeed's alive. Let's get this puppy off. Now, one of the things that I want you to get in the habit of doing is raising the gear when you are out of usable runway. Just for a little demonstration here, we'll imagine that we are out of usable runway, no more good landing areas below us. Gear is coming up. Keep an eye on that, make sure the gear comes up correctly, because if it doesn't come up correctly, it probably isn't going to come down correctly. That's kind of a big deal. Alright, turn out over the river here, and let's go to New York. Now in the Bonanza you use what they call 25 squared. Let me show you what I mean by that. 25 squared is going to be our cruise climb. This is what's best for the engine. Make sure that we're not overstressing the engine, and we're also getting a good fuel burn while a good forward rate. So I'm going to pull back my throttle to 25 inches, and then I'm going to pull back that blue knob that I was telling you about earlier to 2500 RPM. Coming back now. Alright, so now we got 25 squared. It seems to think I'm going to crash into the water here. I'm not going to crash. We're fine. Alright, so that's perfect for our cruise climb. Now, let's imagine that we've been doing this for a while. We got up to the altitude that we wanted. Everything's fine. Now we're going to set it for a good cruise performance. You can leave it at 25 inches in, but you can prop back to maybe 2350. That's a pretty common setting. One of the things that you want to avoid in an airplane like this is you don't want to really crank back on that blue knob so you have low engine RPM and high engine manifold pressure. This is going to overstress the engine, and it's going to cause high cylinder head temperatures. You want to avoid that at all costs. So basically just use the checklist that I put in the description there, and then aim for about 24, 25 or something like that. Okay, now that we're cruised away, it's time to close those cowl flaps. That gets us a little speed, and the engine temps are now pretty well in the green. I hope that helps you, fellow pilots. Fly safely.